Right, good evening, everybody. Let me just pop over. Here we are. This is welcome to One World, One Blood Bowl, episode 2. I'm thrilled to have with me a couple of the same people we had for the first episode, and some new faces as well. And fantastic. Welcome to everybody in the chat. I'm going to try and keep more of an eye on chat this time myself, but the lovely Volkajo has also offered to make sure he's keeping a firm eye on chat for me. I'm just going to first of all just go around the six, and I just want us all, as I said to them before we started, I'm going to be open about this. I tried to advertise this on Reddit because I really want this to be, as the title says, One World, One Blood Bowl. I want to bring everybody in from every part of Blood Bowl. I want to talk about anything to do with Blood Bowl, it's always wound me up that everyone gets very tribal. You know, you're either Blood Bowl 2, or you're tabletop, or you're Fumble, or you're a hobbyist. And I think that's insane. We all just love and play and spend too much of our time, money, and effort on Blood Bowl. So I kind of want to bring us all together and talk about Blood Bowl with people from all over it and foster those links and get us more aware of each other and possibly even build some bridges, So that's really what One World, One Blood Bowl is all about. I really wanted to call it Talk Blood Bowl or Loose Women for Blood Bowl, but the first name was taken. The second didn't seem that attractive to people. So One World, One Blood Bowl it is. My name is PurpleChest. This is my Twitch, so you probably know that. My Blood Bowl story starts, I suppose, in the 80s with first edition in my bedroom as a 14-year-old. But I gave it up for many years. Found it again when Fumble started in 2003. I've been playing online on Fumble ever since. On tabletop for the last sort of 5 years. I'm very lucky in that I have won quite a few online tournaments and things. I have got a NAF title. But I don't claim to be any good at Blood Bowl. I've just been doing it a long time. I'm old and I'm occasionally lucky. I also do the Fumble podcast with my good friend throweck, who is also on tonight. So let's hand over to you, Mark. Let's hear about your
Hey,
Blood Bowl
yeah,
story.
very similar to yours, but just a little bit later on because I'm not quite as old as you, Dave. But yeah, I started Blood Bowl very similarly at a younger age, but then had a massive break through uni and whatever else. Found Fumble in 2013, found the love for Blood Bowl again, started playing online, then started playing tabletop. I also have um, a NAF title under my belt, both tabletop and one online. I don't have any majors on Fumble or BB2 yet. Yet being the operative word. But yeah, that's me. And I co-host the Fumble podcast with your good self, Dave.
Fantastic. Let's bring in the lovely Thor. I'm absolutely thrilled to have Thor in with us.
Yeah.
Perhaps
Thank you very
not
much.
as well known as anyone else to the Twitch stream, so it's about time that changed.
Well, I'm hoping it's going to change soon because I'm going to be starting to paint on Twitch as a streaming service soon as well. So this webcam I'm using is going to be I bought for that reason. So I got involved in Blood Bowl in 2015 after the demise of Warhammer Fantasy Battle. I was invited by Frank, who used to run. We used to run Threadball. I used to live fairly local, and he went, "Look, just come down and play." I was like, oh, "Okay, I don't know what I'm doing." Played my first tabletop game as the first game at Thread. 2 years later, I'm running the event. I've been running Threadball ever since 2017 now. I brought so during the pandemic, me and a few other guys who've helped me with Thread set up Squad Chaos. We went over to the World Cup together as a team. And we decided to make this support network for Blood Bowl because there's so many places dedicated to making the best Blood Bowl you can be in tactics and this and roster building advice. There wasn't a space where you can just go, look, guys, I've had a really crap day today. I need to vent, and other Blood Bowlers, and you know what people are going through, and you can just be there for other people. So we set up a Discord. We've now got 150 members on there. Yeah, and we do all sorts. We have hobby nights. We've got a health channel on there now for people wanting to lose weight. We're just trying to do everything that we can to support everybody else. And on top of that, I run Black Wolf Painting Studio, which is a commission painting business. I was painting just before this stream, as some of you guys commented on. And yeah, I've never won a NAF trophy. I've come second a few times. I have got a best painted trophy with 25 out of the 29 Blood Bowl races. As far as I'm aware, nobody has ever managed to complete every race in Blood Bowl, and I'm 4 away now. So, yeah, I'm actually painting one of them to compete in for next weekend, which is a chaos race. So
Excellent, because
yeah,
NAF do give you a sticker, don't they, if you've done all the races, and now we
yeah,
have more, so no one
yeah.
has
So
that yet.
nobody's ever achieved best painted with every race.
Wow.
So I'm hoping to be the first.
There's a goal. Now, I didn't mention this to you beforehand, guys, but and there's a little private bit in my Discord where we organise these things. Do drop in any links you want me to put when I put these out on YouTube and on the podcast, and I will put those links into things like the Squad Chaos Discord. If you want to drop one in the chat as we talk, that's very welcome too. And anyone on here that wants a copy of this for their YouTubes or for anything else, that will be available too. You're giving up your time to be here with me. I massively appreciate that. Anything I can do for you, you have only to ask, and it will be there.
Anything.
Well, Jim, within reasons, but you're a beautiful man. We can talk. Now, Jimmy wants to come in. Let's hear from the Mr. Fantastic himself. Who are you, Jimmy, and why have I invited you on?
Hello. I started playing Blood Bowl when I was 10, believe it or not, with second ed. And then 14, third ed. And then I played it since. And I do love talking about it and watching it and thinking about it, just not always playing it. But there you go. And yeah, that's it. I mean, that's it. Okay, shut up, Matt O. Someone ban Matt O, please.
But I believe you've got a fumble major, don't you? And a couple of stunty fumble majors.
I do have a fumble major. Yeah, I'm all right. I think I'm okay at the game. I've won 2 stunty majors and 1 real major on fumble. And then, I've qualified for Blitz Pit. Way, finally.
Yes, there is
We're final of CCL.
I'm sure we'll circle around to Blitz Pit at some point. There's a Blitz Pit coming up next weekend, and a couple of the people on this event, podcast, vodcast, whatever we're going to call it, are taking part in that. So I'm sure that's something that will crop up again. Let's hear from the lovely RickWreckless. Hello, Mr. Reckless. Good evening, and thank you.
Hi, thank you so much for having me on. I briefly flirted with Blood Bowl a few times. I played 3rd edition with schoolmates a little bit, and I played Blood Bowl 1 against the AI, which I've since realised was easier to win than racing my 15-month-old daughter in a foot race. And then some second ed with a housemate because he was playing Blood Bowl 1 as well. But then I really, really got into it about 4 years ago. Just got Blood Bowl 2, finally got some decent internet to play online, got the bug, found a local league, been playing that ever since as well, a fortnightly local league. And then also thought, you know what, I'll be a poor man's JimmyFantastic and do some streaming as well. Been enjoying that as well now for a couple of years. Only thing of note I've really ever won is a chalice. Slightly unfortunate timing because I'm about to win Blitzpit and BBSL, but at the moment just the one chalice on Blood Bowl 2.
Yeah, I've won a BBSL. That's nice to do. So yes, and you do have a chalice win, yes, which was, I think you had 500 people watch you as you did that.
Yeah, something like someone said at some point 700, but it peaks very high and then comes back down, doesn't it? So yeah, we had a few. It was nice. Yeah.
But I mean, really interesting, and I do want to circle back to that as well. Name checking that perhaps a lot of the reason people are streaming Blood Bowl on Twitch is that fella there. It's Mr. JimmyFantastic, who I think broke that market open for a lot of us. And I am coming back, Jimmy, to ask you why that's not happening so much anymore. And that might be a reason why I wanted Thor on at the same time as you. The mental health and Blood Bowl, I think that's something I want to talk about a bit tonight. What it does to us, how it makes us feel at times, and how we cope or don't cope. Because that's something we all get. Blood Bowl is a game that induces rage, and yet we love it still, or we hate it still, and yet we sometimes still play. I've left out the lovely Volkajo, invited back from last week. Say hello, Volkajo. Tell people who you are.
Hello. PC told us to talk ourselves up, but I don't really have anything to go on. If one thing, I would consider myself a professional Blood Bowl community person. I don't have major wins, I don't have chalice wins, but I really do like hanging out with people, talking Blood Bowl, commenting on Rick's chalice games, organizing local tournaments, organizing leagues, keeping track of the chalice playoff schedule so everybody can watch it, hanging out in streams, talking to people, and just getting people to enjoy the game. I mean, I've been a before I started the serious job, I've been working as a bartender and a DJ, and that's what I like, having people to enjoy stuff, like have a good night. And I'm trying to bring that to the community, to some extent at least.
How can you say you've got no achievements when you're the JFW Wemdorf champion?
For those that don't know, Jimmy also twice a week runs a wrestling thing on his Twitch, somewhat randomly, which takes a lot of people from the sort of Blood Bowl 2 and Twitch community of Blood Bowl, makes them into wrestlers, and pits them against each other with the AI deciding what happens. Is that fair, Jimmy?
Throw eggs and cabbage.
I am, but that's all good.
And I appear, as most people think I do, playing Blood Bowl with my eyes firmly shut. So yeah, that's a fun thing. Some people quite enjoy it. And at the moment, yes, we have Fungonomic and Steve Motti in the chat, and they would tell you that the Scouse Army are dominating the JimmyFantastic wrestling world right now. And indeed, I think that's probably true. Let's come back first of all to one of the things I promised I wanted to circle back around to. Let's start just with Blood Bowl and mental health. Who wants to talk to me about that and why it does to us what it does to us, and how do we cope?
I mean, Thor's the person to start this, isn't he?
Yeah, I think it is.
So, yeah, a lot of the stuff that I've been focusing on recently, probably in the last 18 months since COVID hit the world, was helping people's mental health, not just within the game. It's outside of the game, and showing that Blood Bowl can be a good release, whether it's actually playing the games, getting online, playing on the online communities, just painting. I mean, I've struggled with mental health. I've had a horrendous past 2 years. Some of you may know a bit more about that than others. And if it wasn't for the guys at Squad Chaos, there I probably wouldn't be sat here, to be honest. That's not easy to admit, but it's the truth. But I use painting to help me de-stress from a day. It's one of the reasons why Black Wolf Painting Studio is called Black Wolf Painting Studios, like the black dog. That's how I get rid of those negative thoughts, those negative feelings, is sitting down, clearing my mind and painting. Now that tournaments are back, it's given me something positive to look forward to, and a reason to paint more than just I need to clear my head. And then when you get to those tournaments and you see those guys that you've not seen for 2 years or something, and feel the love of the tournament Blood Bowl community, it's refreshing. I mean, we had a moment at Throwball, probably about 8:30 on the Friday night, and there was myself, there was Glowworm and Nazgob, the 3 Squad Chaos captains. We were sat at the admin desk, and we saw a physical sigh from everybody, because everyone had come in, they were a bit cautious. Joe, can I go close to people? Can I not? Do they want a hug? Do they not? Everybody had had a beer by this point, and we're just relaxing. And everybody went, yes, this is what we've missed. And yeah, it's been a big part of everything. We lost a good friend during COVID due to mental health. And yeah, just anything anybody do to help somebody just who's not having a good day, whether it's Blood Bowl related because they've had a bad game, or they're just having troubles in their life. Anything we can do is what we need to be doing.
Yeah, I mean, I completely support that. I'm an associate member of Squad Chaos, and I haven't been as active there as I want to be with everything else going on. But I mean, Mark, we on the Fumble podcast have talked about mental health quite a few times.
Yeah, I've suffered, still suffer myself from various issues, but Blood Bowl has been not so Blood Bowl, yes, but more fumble for me really. And when I look back to where I was 8 years ago, to where I am now in terms of my mental stability and things like that, and it's not just about the game, like Thor said, it's about the community. You know, I mean, if you think that without Fumble, just excuse my son walking past. But like, I would have never have met you, Dave. I wouldn't have met thank you. I wouldn't have met people like Mr. Joshua and Harrod and all these friends across the world, internationally, that that have helped me in times of desperate need, actually, at some point. But falling onto that is the Blood Bowl aspect. And yes, I think just changing the tact slightly in terms of does Blood Bowl cause or help or whatever with mental issues. It all depends how you play it, doesn't it? I think if you are uber competitive, it can be a real strain sometimes, especially if Knuckle doesn't provide. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean it's one of the things since I've been Twitch streaming, which has only been since February of this year. I mean I'm fairly new at it still. I have had a lot of feedback that people think even when I lose, I don't seem to rage, I don't seem to get too upset. Let me tell you, it bothers me, but it's one of the reasons I've never committed to a schedule so far. Is there's days I just can't face Blood Bowl, and if I lost or if it all went bad, I just I don't know that I'd be in a good place. So I don't want to commit to say every Tuesday I will stream Blood Bowl in case one Tuesday I just don't feel like it. In my world, there's a lot of rejection. A lot of people know, some don't. I'm an out-of-work actor, so there's rejection constantly in my life. And, I can deal with that. I'm a big boy. I'm used to it. I've been 20 years in the business. But there's some days you just don't feel mentally strong enough to throw yourself out there, get absolutely thrashed, and still, put a smile on your face and keep going. And to have someone to talk to about that, or to have a place where you can vent that is fantastic. And I know what Squad Chaos is partly about. But is there times when Blood Bowl's bad for us? Is it part of the problem sometimes? Or, I mean, we've heard from, both Thor and throweck that it can be part of the solution. Can it also be part of the problem? I mean, it can be a bit.
It depends if you've got a basement as big as Rick's and a fridge as unstocked as Rick's. You can certainly get a release that way, can't you?
Yeah, I mean, look, I've always told jokes that, I think the average Blood Bowl tournament should be sponsored by the NHS. Because so many of those guys need to get out the house, need to see other humans, and need to form those contacts. And you can really see that happen at Blood Bowl tournaments. So I know I am joking, but I kind of also mean it. Like all the best jokes, there's a little bit of truth in there. I mean, Jimmy...
Not in the Rick one, by the way.
Right, yes. We don't genuinely believe Rick is murdering people. But we'll come to why that joke is there in a sec. Jimmy, you are playing a lot less Blood Bowl at the moment than you have done in the past. Is that about Blood Bowl hurting you?
Well, kind of. What happened was I had physical problems, which then led to mental problems, and then that led to me just not being able to handle adversity in Blood Bowl at all. And now that I'm physically okay, I should still be okay, but I'm not. I've still kept that unable to deal with adversity. Adversity. I'm okay with diversity.
Yeah, let's all just have straight white men playing Blood Bowl. That's
those goddamn Germans.
Let's reassure everyone that is a joke.
Yeah, so I still can't handle the adversity, so that's a shame. So now I just really limit the amount of Blood Bowl I play, and then it's not so bad.
And do you think there is a level of sort of just mental fortitude you need to be able to, face this game, which can...
It depends. It depends, obviously. It depends on your attitude to it, doesn't it? For me, I had unrealistic expectations because as the streamers here will know, you cannot play as well when you're streaming as when you're not streaming.
No.
And so I kind of wanted to get the same record that I would get as if I wasn't streaming, when I'm only paying half attention, or not even half attention. I remember Ducky saying that he'd lost concentration for a turn, and that's why he lost. And it's I never have concentration for any turns, But I still expected to have the win rate that I would if I did, and that was stupid, obviously. But I just couldn't lower my expectations to the proper level.
Yeah, so living up to our own expectations of what we can produce. I mean, that's putting that own pressure on us, isn't it? Which I'm sure Thor would say is one of the roots of perhaps just asking too much of yourself.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I love about the Blood Bowl community compared to other gaming systems that I've been involved in, the game itself naturally weeds out win at all costs players. You cannot be a die-hard win at all cost player and enjoy playing Blood Bowl, because the dice will just say to you no every so often.
Yeah.
I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen to Davo. I've seen it happen to to Core, to some of the best players in the world. You sat there watching the game, he's just going, "I can't not roll ones," and that's dice. And I think you've got to accept that level of masochism to play the game. It's. But there was an interesting article written by Jip that was on the NAF site probably about 12 months ago about tilting. I don't know whether you guys have seen
Just
it.
for a sec, Thor, I've just been asked to turn you up, and I've got you already at 200%.
Hang on, one sec. I will try and move the microphone closer to me. How's that?
Okay, that should be good. Thanks, dude.
Okay. Yeah, there was an article written by Jip on the NAF website about tilting.
Yeah.
And if you've not read it, get onto the NAF website. It's a really good analysis of dealing with the swinginess of the game. So you could be absolutely loving life, winning the game, hands down, and then things start going bad, and how to keep yourself picked up during the game. So not to give a bad game to your opponent as well. So I'll definitely recommend giving that a read if you haven't done.
Yeah, I mean, it's very easy, isn't it, when your opponent is raging, to just not like them or to think, oh God, you're ruining my experience. Should we perhaps pause and think, what's this other person, this other human feeling? Or do we just think, no, they're being toxic, keep your crap to you?
Is there a difference between tabletop and online in that sense?
Ooh.
I probably would say yes. I think people are more likely to hide behind a key, especially if you can't see your opponent. You're more likely to hide behind that or try and abuse somebody through the keyboard than if you can see them, or if you sat across from the table to them, you tend to be a bit more polite about it.
Yeah.
I know Eric, who was in the chat earlier, said he only likes playing Fumble when he can see people through a Discord chat. Because you get a better experience. You get the banter with the person, and it's not just, oh, for Christ's sake, for Christ's sake, for Christ's sake. When you mess up, it's not just abuse through the keyboard.
Yeah. I mean, I've been really encouraging, as some people know, I run the 145 Club on Fumble, where we help new players, new coaches, whether it's to Blood Bowl or to Fumble. And I've been really encouraging people to try and use the voice chat within the Discord server there to chat as they play. Because not only can they help each other, advise each other, but it humanises the person on the other end. And it starts to build those links within a community that makes you feel part of it. And I just think it's a really different game, Blood Bowl, if there's a human there, rather than just it becomes a computer game against just a random person. And I think that can be a very different experience.
I mean, it very much depends how you see it, right? Like, if you're a community person or if you're a try-hard gaming person. I mean, between the few of us, I can see there are different people here already. I mean, like, Jimmy, you are very focused on playing the game, streaming the game, and it doesn't matter who's on the other side, right? Like, it's more or less like I want to talk to chat, I want to entertain chat, I want to win this game, and if the other one wins, I don't care. I'm upset. I lost the game, I'm upset, right?
No, not always. I mean, Rick will remember I played him in BBSL just recently, and we were both on, and and that was great, wasn't it? Faimir was on as well, and that was a big laugh. Like, if you're going to have people and it's different, isn't it? It's different having people on, but most of the time they're just anonymous people. And
but how do you get to know them, Jimmy?
They didn't speak to me. Well, I'd rather not.
Fair enough.
And I'm really ecstatic about the fact you can hide chat on Fumble now, by the way.
Yeah.
Squirrel was just saying it's brilliant. That might make me play Fumble again now that you can hide chat, because I didn't want to listen to somebody type moaning about the dice, and that's all he said.
Yeah, I think dice whining is a whole... We could do 5 hours just on dice whining, couldn't we? And how reasonable it is. I've always thought it's kind of insane if you say to someone, please never mention the dice in a game that is 100% about dice. But if someone just constantly whines about dice, that definitely isn't okay with me either. So even I have a line there somewhere. Now, I've really deliberately kept RickWreckless slightly on the bench during this chat so far, because, Rick, I don't know how you do it. Anytime I've ever seen your stream, win, lose or draw, there's a smile on your face, you're positive, you're upbeat, you're happy, you don't seem to tilt. Is there a secret? Are you on drugs?
No drugs.
Can we have some?
Right, yeah. No, I guess there's a few things. I don't even know where to start. So for starters, I've always enjoyed being as competitive as I can possibly be in a game, but I'm okay with winning and losing. But I give everything I've got. Just always been that way. My friends used to call me like overly competitive man. It was a nickname. Like I just love competing and giving it absolutely everything. But then afterwards, like I'm mostly okay with it. There are times when it takes its toll. So like Chalice games, I'll do a lot of preparation. I'll think about it an awful lot. Blitz pit and stuff like that, and afterwards I'll be like shaking. I'll be thinking about it over and over again in my head, and kind of Mrs. Reckless just have to look after me a bit, and we'll try and chill out and watch something. So there are times when it takes its toll on me, when I've been knocked out of a blitz pit or a chalice or something, or even if I've won a really difficult game, like my brain can just be all over the place, and it can affect me. Something like ladder games, less so. So yeah, I do find with Blood Bowl, it can have negative and positive mental health implications for me and presumably for others. I think on the most part, it weighs heavily towards the positive though. It's a good time to talk about it, isn't it? With the COVID, it's such a clear example. Like we've all been under the magnifying glass with our mental health in the last 2 years, and I think any streamer would have similar experience to me in that they've had a lot of messages from people saying, I had a really tough time, but like your stream and just kind of spending time, because it does feel kind of like hanging out with somebody. Like there is a large part of that. I know it isn't quite on the same level, so but it's not so far away. Spending a lot of time in someone's stream chat, and I appreciate that as a chat member as well as a streamer. And I've had a ton of messages from people, and I say back, and I don't just say this to like, I don't know, make them feel good or anything, but it really helped me as well. Streaming through COVID really, really helped me. It gave me something meaningful to do. It filled a massive void in socializing and spending time with other real people. And so yeah, I think on a whole, Blood Bowl was very, very positive for me, and I know it has been for others in the last 2 years during COVID. But yes, there are times when I don't feel like turning on to 200 people and playing Blood Bowl, because most people that struggle with mental health on certain days or at certain periods know that you start to think, oh, what do people think of me? And so if you know that people are then going to be watching you and analyzing your moves and listening to what you say and maybe analyzing that, and you start to overthink, they're probably much less than you're then starting to think on your bad days. So there you've got to be careful with it as well. It can be a very positive tool. But I completely understand some people sometimes wanting to play Fumble or Blood Bowl 2 if they're maybe having a bad mental health day, but they feel like Blood Bowl might help, not wanting to talk in the chat. Sometimes that's beyond our capability on a really bad mental health day, is that level of socializing, but it might just help to just switch a game on and play that for a little while. So
I completely agree with you on that, Rick. Completely agree with you. Sometimes I'm certainly in that position where I really want to play, but I just don't want to engage with anyone. I just, but then you can't rely on the AI of BB2.
Well, I mean, actually,
That's
I had
another conversation.
about 2 weeks ago, I was in that mood, and also because of childcare moods and things, I really couldn't commit to a stream where, I was going to be spending half an hour between games doing other things and then maybe having another game. And I played some Blood Bowl 2 privately, but someone noticed through Discord, because it tells you what games people are playing, that I was playing, and they said, oh, no stream. And they basically then sent a message, I'm really upset, I really wanted to watch you play today. So I shared screen, and I had a stream for one person, and chatted with them as I played. And it was someone that had been on the stream, not loads, not someone I already considered a friend. And it was lovely, actually. They were really nice and kind, and they really appreciated that at a board moment I gave them that, and I could cope with that. I could cope with one person. But I didn't think I could cope with, I'm not going to say 200, because I don't get 200. That was such a brilliant humble brag, by the way, Rick, considering you mostly get 300. I couldn't cope with 15 people questioning every decision I made that day. But just one person who just wanted to chat and watch someone else play Blood Bowl, I was fine with that. So sometimes there's, even the most robust of us, and it's nice to hear Rick admit that there are days he thinks this isn't a day I can let 200 people watch what I do. I'm not up for that today. And I hope that makes everyone else out there feel that, even the very nicest of us has those days where it's not to be for him. Wow, what a
That was
depressing
really
episode of One World, One Blood Bowl we've had so
Because
far.
when you did that on my screen, you were pointing to Jimmy.
Okay, well, whatever.
I mean, one of the things I've really enjoyed recently, I've actually joined 2 tabletop leagues since moving back to Warrington. I've joined the Water Bowl League with all the guys up in Water Bowl in Stockport, and there is names after names after playing that league. And I'm getting my arse handed to me in that. But I've also joined a local club who started up playing Blood Bowl. This is the first season we've ever run a Blood Bowl season. And being able to go down there and give back to that community and help new players come along has been such a boost for my own mental health. I turned up for my first game. It was like I was given 3 hours notice. This guy needed a game. Said, "Yeah, I'll turn up, whatever." Said he's got Skaven, and he turned up and he had his Skaven in a bag. They weren't even glued to the base. I had my figure case with me, which has got a second head Skaven team, and I said, "Look, do you want to borrow this?" And he borrowed my second head Skaven team to play against. It was mostly to my benefit, so I could see what the players were and the positions were. But being able to get back and get new players in and be able to talk to them and see their enthusiasm rubs off on you, and it just helps relight that spark for Blood Bowl, which sometimes we do lose a bit of enthusiasm for it.
Yeah, sorry about that. I just had to flick to OBS doesn't cope when my alerts fire, and I don't necessarily seem to be able to turn them off for this. I'm going to have to work on that. And they end up in an endless loop, so I have to click to something else and then click back, and then they stop. So you were slightly spoken over there by my ridiculously loud alert streams, Thor. So can I ask you to repeat it in case it was utterly lost?
Yeah, I was basically saying that it's joining a new local league with new, basically new guys to Blood Bowl who've picked up BB20 as a new game. They've seen GW re-release it, and feeding off their enthusiasm for the games rekindled my enthusiasm for tabletop Blood Bowl in leagues, because I've always been a tournament player rather than a league player. Didn't really like the progression of teams and stuff like that. It may have been the old league I was part of. But yeah, it's been really good for my own mental health to get through and pick up on their enthusiasm and help them develop their new league.
Yeah, that's interesting. Now that I've got a slightly more regular life, I mean, my training work basically stopped with COVID and sort of said they're never going to use me again. So that used to take me off travelling all around the country, and now that I don't, I actually perhaps maybe could join a league, which I never thought I could before. And I've got 2 options. One is the Edinburgh Castle Blood Bowl League down in central London, which have always said they'd have me in, and I know a lot of those guys, and that'd be great. And I think if I do it, that's probably got to be the one, because there is one about 2 miles from my home, but it's 5 guys playing in a scout hut who've never been to a tournament, never played online, never played anyone outside of those 5 guys in a scout hut. And is it kind of arrogant of me to think that they don't need me turning up, do they? That's not going to be good for their league, is it?
Well, that's what I thought
even
about.
if you had snotlings, stay away.
That's what I thought about this local league. The fact that most of them some of them have played Blood Bowl before, some of them played Blood Bowl from yesteryear. Apparently, when my second game against them, but most of them are brand new. But they were really thankful for me coming down and sharing my knowledge about Blood Bowl and how to build teams and stuff like that, and actually being a person rather than just clicking on internet guides. And they usually say, "Oh, we might have played 2 or 3 games," but because there's myself and there's another guy who's come down who's a bit more experienced in this type of thing, it's keeping the Blood Bowl League going.
Yeah.
And then I'm running a tournament in Liverpool on the 13th of November. A few of the guys are now thinking to come into their first tournament. So it's getting them involved in the tournament. It's building that Blood Bowl community. And I've mentioned about people streaming on Twitch. I'm like, oh, we didn't realise people were streaming on Twitch. So they're now looking at basically looking at you guys to watch Blood Bowl on Twitch. So they're joining this big international community of tabletop and online Blood Bowlers.
Well, I mean, agree more there, like with Thor and PC. Don't be worried. Like it depends on how you do it, right? Like if you're just walking in there, taking your dwarves stacked with guard, trashing everybody, winning it like within 60 minutes, leaving, saying bye, thanks for the game, and thanks for the drink I'm taking. Of course, that's shit.
Yeah.
But like when I organized my local league, right? It stopped throughout COVID, but we always announced when we played games at my house. I mean, I have a rather big living room. I can fit like 3 tables here. I have a few more rooms where I can put up tables. So we basically have practice sessions then. Like you look over to the other table, talk about strategies, talk about builds, whatever, and then you show like, oh, PC's on and he's playing his Chalice game. Oh, what's Chalice? Yeah, oh, cool, that looks interesting. Rather old man, but maybe still worth listening to him. But it depends how you approach it and what you want to achieve there. If you want to see it as community building in a small, do it. It's like having a small stream. You can have people over at your house.
It is. I just want to pick up on something there about what you've been talking about, tabletop tournaments and things, tabletop league. I've recently rejoined the Nottingham one, which is near where I live. And I do have a little bit of social anxiety and things like that. So I really desperately wanted to play my first tabletop game, but it took me so much to kind of dig in and visit this stranger that I'd never met and only talked to on Messenger about organising a game. And all I'll say to anybody that's in a similar position is just go, because even though it's really hard to get there, when you're there, it's so much fun, and then you can come away and just have had a really good game. So, like UPC, I mean, if you've got a tabletop opportunity, take it.
I mean, the local one would be so much more handy. I just don't want to, disincentivize them from playing Blood Bowl. Nor do I want to walk in, Billy Big Bollocks and say, oh, whatever. That's not me either.
Obviously not. Far from it, right?
Well, let's come back to Rick. You are, at the moment, I'd say it's between you, Rick, and you, Jimmy, and Andy Davo as to perhaps who's the most sort of recognisable figure in Blood Bowl right now. I mean, Kafo may well have that, be in that conversation too. But when you first started playing on tabletop, was that the case? And how did you find it walking into a room and people knowing, hey, the RickWreckless is here?
No, I wasn't at the Water Bowl. My streaming had only just started, so that they love taking the mick out of me now with it, which is great. But no, I was an unknown variant there. quite humbling in a good way. Like at the NAF tournaments, people often don't know me, right? So I've gone to like NAF tournaments with 110 people when I have been successful on the streaming, and I might get 3 people over the weekend go, wow, I'm such a big fan of your stream, but it's like 3 people out of 110 that seem to really know me. So it's not yet, which is why podcasts like this are great, right? Because weirdly we are a somewhat split community between the platforms, which is really bizarre. It's nice to bring it together a bit more. So I really like this. But no, I've not had any issues where I've been stopped in the street for an autograph or anything,
I mean, I don't know if any of you have met Thor before. Or even know of him, but it's hi Thor. But it's kind of the one thing I thought, if I have something that's positive, it's that I do seem to be a bit known on Fumble and on Blood Bowl 2 and on tabletop, and hence I have got the connections to perhaps get some people like this together and get us talking together, which I thought could only be a good thing, and it's something that interested me, and I hope it interests people in the chat too. I mention over there because that's where my second screen is, so when I look over there, I'm not just looking at my nice bottle of whiskey, I am looking at what the chat people are saying. And I know I've missed loads of it because I'm trying to stay on top of this, and lovely Jimmy and lovely Volka are making sure they're talking in the chat, and I know Cor's here and answering loads of questions too, so that's fantastic. Okay, I mean, this is what else does everyone want to talk about? We've got some more time. I've got all sorts of lovely people here. One thing I wanted to come back to a tiny bit is competitiveness, because it's a little bugbear of mine. Rick said something really interesting, so I wrote it down. I think it was Rick. The difference between being competitive and being all about winning. And which of those do we feel it's more sort of reasonable to bring to Blood Bowl? I love competing. And I can't deny I like winning. I do. But I'm much more interested in a competitive experience, even if I lose it, than an uncompetitive one where I win.
Really, PC, you play dwarves.
Only ever dwarves, yes, that's true.
Well, that kind of links into what I wanted to talk about as well, which was, if I give you the scenario, it kind of fits it. So my first tabletop league for Nottingham, I managed to stop the score for the first half, but I could have scored on turn 3, second half, and I could have stalled out the rest of the game. So tabletop, first game of the league, I want to win. Where do you stand now? If it was online, if it was Fumble or Blood Bowl 2, I'd be stalling that. I would. No question. No question. I'd be stalling that. But in that situation, I even said to my opponent, so what's your thoughts on stalling then? And his response was, well, stall and wait and see.
So, when I first started playing Blood Bowl, somebody said something to me, and I can't remember for the life of me who it was. It was about stalling. And they said stalling is the greatest mark of respect you can give your opponent.
Yeah.
Because if you stall against them, it's because you want to waste time because you think they will score back against you. Okay? And there's no better way of showing respect to you by saying, look, you are going to score if I score. So I have no problem with stalling at all. I have no problem with people being competitive. I mean, it's what Blood Bowl's about. I mean, you can take snotlings or goblins, and you can still be competitive with them. You can be they're less competitive, but they are still competitive. I mean, everybody knows top end players who've lost games against goblins once again because the dice say so.
Yeah.
But it doesn't stop you being competitive. It doesn't stop you wanting, if you're down 3-0, to try and just go, I want to be 3-1, because that way you've at least scored. You haven't been nilled. There's something you can always achieve in the game.
That's
Thrall,
an interesting way
you've
to
just
look at it.
frozen at the moment, by the way. Oh, no, you're unfrozen. Good. Yeah.
It's an interesting way to look at it, that is.
Yeah.
Because I did score because I kind of went against everything I believe in that moment because I wanted my opponent
To have a good time.
to have a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like inside me,
Have a drink then. Like, have a drink and, like, wait what's happening, if you can fix it. I mean, it's part of the game to break a stall, to force a score. So, like, that should be exciting for them. Like, I used to be like that. Like, oh, well, let's have it more interesting because it doesn't matter, like, in the grand scheme of things. But no, like, the game, if played in leagues, if played online in competitive formats, it is about winning. Make the experience around it fun, but make the game as competitive as it can possibly be. Everything else is just crap, I think.
Yeah, I'm going to come in on what Thor said. It's, despite saying that I'm not all about the win, I'm about, I love competing. I love that process of being competitive. I don't want to be in a game where I don't feel competitive. I don't mind losing, but if I feel I wasn't competitive, then I can sometimes feel that makes me sad. If I'm 1-0 up and I've got a 2-0 at turn 3, if I score it, I either like you and want you to have a good time, or I don't respect you and don't think you can beat me. If I respect you in any way as a Blood Bowl player, I'm stalling that out. Which I feel is a bit of a confession after what I said. You found me out, throweck, haven't you? That
it's difficult because when I scored, I just thought, I don't know, I've got like 5 turns now to really try and stop him, so I've got to up my game.
Yeah.
Like Spleggy says in chat, it says not stalling is like saying doesn't matter how many turns I give you, you won't score, which is not respectful. But that's not how I saw it at all. It was a case of, right, I've got to up my game to make sure he doesn't equalise.
Yeah.
You see, if I was 1-0 up already, I would probably score to go 2-0 up, because even with 5 turns, he's not scoring 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, I get that.
If it was 0-0, and I'd probably try and stall it for as long as I can, because it's less chance he's going to draw the game against me.
Yeah. I mean, yes, and yet on tabletop, is there that more pressure to not stall?
I think so.
Because people are giving up their physical time to actually be there in a room with you? Is that?
But I mean, it depends. If you're in your little 5-man scout hut, then they'd probably go mad if you try to stall. You know, like I did a league with, like, there was me, there was a guy from Fumble, there's a guy who's good at games, and then there was like 3 beginners, and then the one from Fumble stalled against one of the beginners, and he did not like it at all. Like, he was really, like, wanted to fight him. It's like he was really, really, really not liking it. Whereas I still stalled against him, but I did it more subtly around the halfway line, so it didn't feel so bad. Whereas the Fumbler did it right on the goal line, and he really hated that.
But
So,
I mean,
yeah.
just tell them that it's part of the game and it's the puzzle to solve. Like,
Well, that's what I tried to sell it. Yes, of course.
Like most of us have played against K-Folk, right? Like the man is quite good at stalling, and he makes it a thing to like set up the most difficult stalls possible, even though it doesn't make sense sometimes. He just loves the challenge of it. And the other hand, it's a nice challenge to try to make him score, isn't it? Like that's part of the game. Like it's such an essential part of the game. It's more important than just taking your 2 DBs on the halfway line, is it?
Yeah. And it's also about creating a position where even if losing or even if you can't stop the score, they're not in a position to stall. That is an absolute skill that's essential to good Blood Bowl players, isn't it?
Yep.
I think so. Yeah,
completely.
But I think it all depends on how you see stalling, though, right? So there's always conversations on the Facebook Blood Bowl community page about stalling, which gets shut down pretty quick, which is hilarious in itself. Thor knows what I'm talking about. But it all depends on how you perceive stalling, right? So dwarves, you could technically say that that slow advance is stalling the score, isn't it?
Yeah.
It doesn't just have to be, I'm going to sit a square away from the end zone, surrounded by a couple of players. That is stalling, but so is that slow grind up because I'm not scoring because I don't want to move my runner 6 squares every turn.
Yeah, I mean, as Jimmy says, you can, if you know what you're doing with Blood Bowl, you can reasonably easily stall on your own touchdown line, let alone on the halfway line. You don't have to be on their touchdown line.
I think to newer players, it looks different, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think just be aware of your format and be aware of your opponent. So if I'm against a very, very new coach, I don't need to stall. It's beneficial of me to score as many touchdowns as possible. So the stalling issue isn't an issue. In NAF tournaments, it isn't really an issue because once you've played game 1, you start to get ranked on win records. So soon I'm playing K-Full or Dio unless I've had a terrible tournament, in which case somebody else is going to face me, but then face somebody else closer to them. So that's fine. In tabletop leagues, it maybe takes a little bit more kind of. I've taken the lead off K-Fool a little bit on this since I've got better. It certainly didn't need to do this initially, but now I'm playing like Slan in my tabletop league. Before I was playing Vampires, so if you're letting me stall with Slan and Vampires, you're doing something pretty wrong. But it barely ever comes up because it's really, really difficult. My games from the word go with those teams. So as long as you're aware of the format and your opponents, I haven't found I've been able to be my very competitive self without seemingly ruining the day for any of my opponents so far. Hopefully,
are we all willing then to sign up to the statement? If I'm stalling, it's your fault.
Yeah.
Do you know what? That is on the Facebook pages. That is generally one of the schools of thoughts from the more experienced coaches. If I'm stalling, you're not playing very well.
Now, I think for Rick is though, if I'm stalling, it might be turn 16 and it's Blitz Pit, and I had a massive brain fart.
Now there has been a couple of things that just happened in the chat I do want to talk about. I don't know if you guys have all got my chat up as well as this lovely screen. So the first thing is Thor. Santa from Exeter says, "I need to tell you that budgies are better."
It's a reenactment joke. Both of us do historical battle reenactment, and he's in a different regiment than I am, and he's basically saying his regiment is better than mine.
Okay.
Nerd.
Yeah, nerd. The other thing
Damn right.
We do have I believe, the lovely Rolex Naff in my chat, who I was mentioning to JimmyFantastic the other day. I just want to ask Rolex, how many teams do you have? Because Jimmy found it unbelievable, the number I named. Dizzy Best says she has a mug for you, Thor.
Hey, Dizzy. Good to see you.
Yeah, lovely to see you all in the chat. I presume now Andy Davo's game is over because we have some people in chat. So we're not going to repeat all the first half hour. He did, and I missed it because that was when I was dealing with the multiple alerts. So I should have said a big thank you. So I'm hoping that Rolex Naff gives us a number, but I hear he's got sort of 300 to 400 teams, 402.
No, that's people.
People. Okay. I think Rolex has that many teams. So one of the things, and I'm just going to have to swap screens again to kill this this endlessly repeating alert. There we go. How much is too much to have spent on Blood Bowl, both in time and money and amounts of resin and metal and paint and brushes and dice, particularly dice, that you have in your home? What's too much? Is there a too much?
It equals how many dwarf teams you own, isn't it?
You've got to have a dwarf team, haven't you? Even if it's that lovely Star Wars one.
No, I don't actually. Oh, I own the Chaos Dwarf team for that. I do own one dwarf team. It was the very first team I ever did for Blood Bowl. 4th Rud 2015, my first event. And it also won my first Best Painted in Blood Bowl as well. So it's a Santa dwarf team that I sculpted out of an old Avatars of War Berserker set. So yeah, I have one. I've used it at one tournament. The one tournament I met Hef. I got stitched up and got told to go and ask Hef what the best way to play dwarves is, and he'll give me all the advice. And for 45 minutes, I couldn't get a word in edgeways, and he called dwarf players every which way from under the sun. After which, I managed to get a word in and said, I'm actually using dwarves. And he spent the next 45 minutes telling me exactly what he thought of me. So, love you, Hef.
There you are, Jimmy. There's your exact number. The last we've heard is Rolex NAF has 346 different and distinct Blood Bowl teams.
I wouldn't even think there was that many different teams you could possibly buy.
That's crazy.
That's the hobbyists. I've said all along, it's the painters and the hobbyists that keep Blood Bowl alive. They're the real ones supporting this hobby and keeping Games Workshop interested, not us.
I paint, right, but as a hobby rather than anything else. And I do like to paint, but I literally recycle my team. So I will either paint for other people, or I will buy something myself and then sell it on afterwards. I don't tend to keep stuff.
I mean, to be honest, like the question is, in general, like it's not only the painting, it's not only the minis, it's also some of us are Twitch streamers here. I mean, I'm a hobby Twitch streamer, but like there are professional Twitch streamers here. And you sometimes wonder when people drop like 50 subs in the chat or whatever, right? But it's the same on Twitch as it is with minis or teams or whatever. It's whatever you want to pay. If you want to pay somebody $500 for painting a team, great. Thor probably will very much appreciate that.
I'd love $500 for a paid team.
It's fine. If you enjoyed Rick's Chalice winning stream, drop 50 subs. Fine. If you want to see JimmyFantastic play a game of Halflings, drop $1,000. It's fine.
Jimmy will absolutely do that, and he'll dress naked and paint himself blue if that's what you've asked.
Whoa, that's not.
Can you do that?
Last time, I am going to have to start
I would.
wearing a bikini and floating around on a banana in a hot tub.
Yeah, I'm joking. There's a
To be
limit.
fair, Throweck could do anything for a Scotch egg.
Yeah, well, wouldn't we all? A nice bacon butty, and you've got me. I'm your slave. Damal Tito has just said that the right number of teams for him is N+1, where N is the number of teams he has now. Is that? I mean, we can't deny we're addicted. Can we? And isn't getting addicted to the resin and the painting as bad as to the playing? Isn't this a hobby that grabs us all that way with some level of our addictiveness?
At fear of giving a boring answer, if you're putting bread on the table for your family, and I'd morally argue, but we could talk about this separately all day, giving a bit to charity, your bit to charity, not a bit to charity, then yes, absolutely spend as much as you want. So if you're living in a mansion and you're installing irrigation in a third world country,
Here's my business card.
then spend millions. Go ahead if you want to, and that's all relative to each of us. There's times when I shouldn't spend a $5 on Blood Bowl, and hopefully I don't on those weeks. And then there's times when I've got a bit more, and I absolutely can. And yeah, from a streamer point of view, it's amazing when someone can donate generously. That's obviously incredible. And if somebody just all they can manage is a sub a month, then that's amazing. But I'd hope that somebody wouldn't even give a sub a month if they couldn't afford it. If that was like significantly affecting them or their family at that period of time, then absolutely we most of us wouldn't want that, obviously. So it's very relative to each individual at each individual moment.
I think we're all comfortable saying that, aren't we, Jimmy? That really, if you want to donate, if you want to subscribe, that's fantastic. But it's not 100% of why we do it.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
People are welcome, certainly on my stream, anytime. They don't have to even be a follower. But anything on top of that, it's kind of strange, isn't it? But it's the modern world, so I've decided to get used to it.
anybody's welcome on mine because I have no subscribers whatsoever. So
What I really like,
free
though, is,
reign.
like, it hasn't come over to the Blood Bowls, like the streaming so much. And it's not a thing in Germany. I did that for my last tournament in Berlin. We had like a charity auction. In the UK, it's much more common. In the US, it's much more common to say like, oh, we're wasting our money on this hobby. Why not give back to some extent? Like a $5 a year, a $10 there, whatever. Like giving back. Rick, you've done charity streams. I remember that.
Yeah.
I spent a ton of money there because I thought it was a great idea, and the Twitch community hasn't picked up on that too much, and I wonder if it's a thing outside of the UK and the US so much, because it's certainly not so much of a thing in Germany for tabletop tournaments.
So, Pete, Peter D?
Yeah, Peter D. Tabletop,
so
the tabletop legend in Germany. Nobody on Twitch will know him, but he's the nicest man you will ever meet, and I know how nice Rick is. Meet Peter D.
Please. He honestly is the nicest guy in Blood Bowl, period. But he once said something to me which he's really stuck with me. People in Germany don't believe in charity because to them charity means that the government has failed. And so I think every country deals with charity in a different way. In the UK and the US, it's a lot more community-based and community-driven. And I just want to give a shout out, by the way, to absolutely everybody who helped Thrudball this year. I don't know whether you guys saw, we raised 10 grand in a weekend for charity. That's $5 grand each from Mind and Roy Castle Lung Cancer Foundation. And that was through a charity auction on the day. We had a massive raffle, and we had all sorts going on. Crystal McDowell did, I think it's 550 quid she did for a charity painting stream, which is the inspiration for the charity painting stream I'm going to be doing on the 11th of December, where I'm going to try and paint an entire Blood Bowl team in 12 hours and then raffle it off.
Wow. I mean, Squad Chaos does do a lot of charity stuff too, doesn't it? As well as Thrud Bowl, and I know that's a thing you're really into.
Make sure you get in touch with us so we can give it a shout out on the podcast as well.
Yeah, chat's gone a bit crazy on this. I mean, Kefo, another one of the lovely European friends we have living in the UK, says he feels very similar. That from Scandinavia, where he comes from, I'm sure there's very much a culture of the needs that are filled by charities in the UK seem to be more filled by governments in some of those other places. And someone else, I want to name check them. There we are. BB Jock says it is an old stat, but that 85% of charitable giving in Europe, as and when he got this stat, was given in the UK. That clearly we feel there's a need in the UK that we need to be meeting through charity, that elsewhere isn't. Charity doesn't need to be there to do that. So it's interesting. It's not very Blood Bowl as a chat, but it's an interesting thing that we've just happened across.
And to make it even less Blood Bowl and even less interesting, it kind of comes down to the population's ideas on tax. If you're happy to be a high-taxed population and have the government look after everybody that requires it, then fantastic. And if you'd rather not get taxed hardly anything, then morally, I really hope those populations, which pretty much includes the UK's, are prepared to then give generously to charity and do their part there, because that's kind of the two options, really.
Yeah.
Otherwise, people miss out and are in bad situations.
There we are. But, mental health, government taxation, and how we cope with tilting. There's a Blood Bowl chat for us for this evening.
But no, to bring it back onto Blood Bowl, I have found the Blood Bowl community as a whole are a very charitable lot, and people just try and do absolutely everything they can for you. Like I said, I've been running through it since 2017. Most of it was on my own, all the preparation on my own. This year, I had a group of 10 guys from Squad Chaos doing all the preparation work, the donations work, the admin side of things, the refs, and they all just gave up their time freely. They just went, look, what do you need me to do? And we're looking at 6 months preparation for these 10 guys, including myself, like people like Glowworm, like Nazgob, like Woodrum, and these guys have been absolutely stellar. And then we get to the weekend, and there's 30 or 40 guys, not all Squad Chaos, just random guys who've turned up for the tournament, who were there literally beck and call, said, look, if there's anything you need us to do. We had 4 guys that went round after every round and wiped the tables down to make sure they were COVID clear. And they just went, this is my task for the weekend. I'm happy doing this 5 minutes work, and just did it for us. And no matter what tournament you go to on tabletop, this is what people are like.
Is it me that's cut or Thor?
No, we've lost you.
We've lost you, Thor. I don't know if you can hear us, but we've lost your audio.
We can see you, just
We
can't
can see
hear
you, we can't hear you, my friend.
While Thor tries to comes back, I'll just say because Volk shouted out my charity stream, but Stolen XP did one the year before, which inspired mine, and Andy did a massive one this year. I'll struggle to do another one for a bit because of Zelda now, and so people have picked up that mantle before and after, and I don't know how often the Blood Bowl 2 community more than yearly could manage something like that. Maybe they could do 6 months, but certainly yearly's pretty good. And the community was amazing for all 3 of those. I couldn't believe how much was given over those streams. So,
as a content creator, Stolen's charity streams created some of the best Blood Bowl 2 clips ever.
Yeah.
If you think the Dimmy chair clip is funny, watch Stolen's clips. That's above and beyond.
Well, it's inspiring me. I mean, I never did. I always said I should do something to celebrate when I reached 1,000 follows, and I never did. And perhaps a charity stream rather than just a selfish stream is the way to do that. That feels like something I would enjoy doing. And certainly, I mean, one of the reasons I'm very passionate about mental health, I talked about this on the podcast, so it's not new, the Fumble podcast. I had a friend kill himself just before Christmas. And, we're approaching that time again. So the last thing I didn't say it is, we'd be nice to people all the time. And call your friends and occasionally text them if you haven't heard from them. But particularly in the run-up to Christmas, it's a brutal time. And with the COVID kicking off, it's a time that we desperately do need to be nice to people. That's when my friend couldn't cope, and that's when a lot of people can't cope. It's this time of year that is the hardest for people. Oddly, this time and Valentine's, not surprisingly, is another one that really hurts. Let me just get rid of that repeating thing again. There we are, that should kill it. And I do want to move on because, when I trailed this, I did promise that one of the things we would talk about, because it's the hot thing, is Blood Bowl 2020. I have used up an hour of everyone's time, so if anyone needs to disappear, I'm not going to blame you. I did ask you for an hour. But last time we did an hour and a quarter, so I do plan to wrap this up. I don't want them to be too long. But I do just want to touch on Blood Bowl 2020. I know we've got Thor, who run and organised the Thrud Bowl, which created a lot of noise in the community, so I want to ask him about that. Volkajo has also been running a tournament recently, so I want to bring him in on this. I know Rick's been to a tabletop tournament. There's a brilliant story about JimmyFantastic at the NAFC and PurpleGoo, which I hope he's going to tell, and if not, I might. So I want to talk briefly about Blood Bowl 2020, and particularly about tournaments. And one of the things that Volkajo, who is being fantastic in terms of the support he's offering me, and Mark is doing the recording of this, so, again, no one works alone, no one's an island. This wouldn't be here without other people helping me. But one of the things he said we might talk about tonight is the results of, was it called Monkey Bowl, Volkajo?
Yeah, it's just that Kefo posted them in his Discords. And if you look at the top 5 teams, the top 4 of them are Underworld, and then it's Underworld. Is this a problem for us?
So there's 2 things: is how is 2020 for you, and how are tournaments and our Underworld a problem? So that's 3 things. I'm not good at counting.
I don't think Underworld are a problem. I think Hackflem is a problem.
I'm your Huckleberry.
Okay.
That's. I mean, what other stars are you going to take? Skitter?
Doesn't exist.
Oh yeah, he doesn't exist.
He's dead.
Anymore, does he?
Yeah.
Hackflem's ridiculous.
At
He's
the
cheaper than
moment.
he would be if you built him by leveling him up. So that's insane anyway, isn't it? Compared to what they used to be. So he's really OP, and then people tournament organisers tier Underworld too low as well. So there's those 2, that combination, as well as just Underworld being good, having free snotlings, isn't it, on the field is ridiculous. Having up to 14 men on the field is pretty incredible.
I think when GW altered the roster to be 1 gutter runner, 1 blitzer, 3 line rats, and then potentially brought the Rat Ogre in as well, and then swarming with the Snotlings, it's completely changed the roster. And because we've not had, for example, BB3 isn't out yet, and we've not had the tabletop tournaments to basically show how this has changed. Tournament organisers are struggling how to tier Underworld properly, and then also the incumbent star player meta that's happening at the moment. I mean, one thing we're looking at doing for Thrud for next.
I've lost you again, Thor.
Yeah, we've lost you again, Thor. So we don't know. One thing you'll do for Thrud Bowl next year is... No one's know. It's a secret.
I think
Start
the
next
swarming-
episode
the
with a
swarming
cliffhanger.
games. Yeah.
Is that better?
Swarming.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I can hear you now.
Yes.
Okay, I've changed the microphone. So one of the things we're looking at for Thrud next year is to ban all rulebook stars. Of the 10 ball stars that we've had the images made over the years that we sell for charity, and these will be based on 10 star players which we think are acceptable within the Blood Bowl community. That's like stunty teams need a big guy star player if they want to take it. They also need, like, goblins need a second ball and chain, which is what Fungus always use. So one of them will be a ball and chain. But there won't be a Morgan Thorg. There won't be a Hackflem. There won't be a Griff, because these are the ones at the moment that are causing the problems.
Have they shat the bed with stars, Jimmy?
I don't think they shut the bed. No, I think it's just a problem with NAF, isn't it? The thing is, like, what happens in leagues, it's the same things what happened in Necromunda, all kind of, more time, all those kind of Games Workshop games, in that the best players win more, get more money, get more experience, the team gets better, and then it just keeps snowballing, and it's just like brutal, and that happened with every campaign system Games Workshop's ever made. That snowballs out of control. So making the inducements more than make up for that is great, because that stops the better players. So I've always been on the side of like better stars and stuff, but then obviously it relies, if you're doing a NAF tournament, then it relies on the organisers not letting you have Glart or Morg or Flem, I guess.
Yeah.
And Griff.
Now, vampires. We've talked a little bit about Underworld. Thrud Bowl taught everyone to fear vampires, Thor. What's going on there?
So what we figured out was that vampires, when they have access to 2 skills, or they can spam Pro, are horrendously good, because Pro's got better in Blood Bowl 2020. It's now a 3+ rather than a 4+. So they're a lot more reliable, which means that the animal, and they're also a little bit more reliable because of animal savagery. As long as they can punch somebody, they're definitely doing that action.
Yeah.
So as a team, they've got more reliable if they've got or the skill or the pro or whatever. So therefore, your strength 4, edge 4 players are doing ridiculous things all throughout.
And Hypno cheats on a 2+ usually as well.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Okay. Quick confession moment then on animal savagery. Hands up if you thought animal savagery was going to be a nerf.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be nerf. Yeah.
Okay. Positive Rick.
I've said many stupid things in Blood Bowl, so forgive me for being smug for a moment. I've spent months shouting down everybody that said that in my chat. I said, no, the changes to Vamps are incredible. They're going to be so much better. Yeah, I love my Vamps. I really do. And Bloodlust is horrific. And 3+ Hypnogazing often fails. And I saw the changes and I went, wow, Vamps are going to be good.
I'm not a vampire
I get
coach.
loads of stuff wrong. I just happened to get that one right.
I'm not a vamp coach. Maybe Rick can answer it. Like, is it a massive difference, though, that the positioning works the other way around now?
I prefer it because often you want vampires to go into tricky positions, and they're quite good at that with the Edge 4, and you often have them on dodge. Much harder for the Thralls to get there. They're much more likely to start where the Thralls are. And also, like, obviously, there's loads of things I could go into, but also the fact that you're then armor rolling your Thralls so that they're less likely to be removed is just, I love the sound of it.
You can punch a vampire now.
Yes, you can.
Yeah. And no vampire leaves the pitch. On a fail, they just stand there. They don't run off. They're there again next turn.
The thing is, animal savagery is a massive nerf to wild animal, isn't it? That was the thing. That was the thing that's not disputed. I don't think that's disputed still. That was the main thing for animal savagery. With
I don't think
vampires, the main thing is the massive buff to Hypnogaze, isn't it? It's 2+ and it takes all the skills.
Fight. Volkajo, you don't think it is?
No, that was me.
Oh, sorry, Thor.
Yeah.
Stop sounding so German.
Sorry. So now that you can put a lineman next to a Minotaur, knowing he's going to blitz when you need him to blitz.
But the more kill
you're
skills
not-
you give him, the more that Lino is dead.
Yeah.
But you know that he's going to do that critical blitz rather than going, no, I'm just going to shove my finger up my nose for the turn.
But you know he's going to do it 5 times out of 6 anyway.
But so we've all played Blood Bowl. We know the turn that we need him to do that blitz on that ball carrier to crowd surf him. He's going to fail that. He's going to roll that wild animal.
That's your fault for making
Guaranteed
him do
that
the
he's going to be
critical
doing that
thing,
hit.
isn't it? You know, that's the thing.
But now you can get. But now you can get him to do it reliably.
I don't think it's worth it. I don't think it's worth it. I guess it's just it's a matter of opinion, isn't it? But I don't think it's worth knowing that you can activate somebody. Like the trade-off is losing your tackle zones and stuff sometimes, which you never could do as wild animal.
Yeah.
And then like needing the babysitter, which you didn't need as wild animal. And there's pros and cons, obviously, but like I think the cons definitely outweigh the pros for me.
I mean, it depends on the team. I mean, people said it already, but like, for example, if you can get a pack team with a red ogre and you get the orc to babysit him, he can basically just run off and do stuff reliably while the other 2 are just roadblocks. That's the thing. But if we're talking...
Really? No. You've got a troll. It's just... So now you've got to babysit the rogue and the troll?
No!
Crazy.
You don't have to babysit the troll. You don't activate the troll.
Oh, get out of town.
Okay, I'm making you take Underworld to a tournament. You get to choose. Are you taking the troll or are you taking the Roger? Who is going on your
Shoot me
team?
if I took the rogue. I would want you to literally shoot me in the face if I took the rogue.
Thank you, Jimmy. Rick?
I'd take the troll. Unless I'm having fun. If I'm really tryharding, I'm taking the troll, yeah.
Volk? Troll or ogre? Or rat ogre?
On which team?
On an Underwhelm team.
Troll.
Yeah, troll.
Thor?
Why would you take the rat ogre?
Well, because he's reliable now. He's got animal savagery. He will
No,
definitely
he doesn't
blitz.
make
He
sense on
will.
that team.
He's got frenzy. He's all sorts of good things.
No, it's the throw teammate for me. The throw teammate.
Teammate. The whole point of the troll is that you've got that very ambitious, unlikely one-turn throw teammate option with the troll. With a rat ogre, you haven't.
Okay, let's change the question up.
Makes you underworld, like makes your gut runner more likely, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And I think the gutter runner is the key to the sprue-based design that is Underworld now, isn't it?
One blitz, one gutter runner. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
such an upgrade,
Let's
but
not go there.
so deliberately done just to put the easy bits of plastic they already had in a box and sell it.
At the end of the day,
Storming.
GW are a business, you know.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's bad. Actually, sprue-based design gave us a fantastic roster that's much more fun than the old one.
Oh, you mean Old World Alliance? Is that...
Well, that's the one. What I want to come to next is, okay, I am going to change the question. So now I'm making you take Chaos Pact. Yes, I hate you that much. And I'm also going to make you take 3 big guys. You have a choice. You've got a Troll, a Minotaur, a Roger, and an Ogre. Which 3 are you taking?
Neither.
Not the roll.
No re-rolls.
Not the Rat Ogre for Jim. Mark, let's go to you next. Which one are you leaving out?
I would follow my good friend Smallman and take no big guys.
No, I'm saying you have to take 3. Which one are you leaving out?
I would probably leave out the Rat Ogre. I like the Minotaur Strength 6 splits up with horns.
Okay.
I don't know. I would take the... Yeah, I'd probably leave out the Roger.
Rick?
Yeah.
It's fairly close out the Roger and the Minotaur, but yeah, it probably is on balance the Roger, sadly, yeah.
And Volk?
I would also take the Minotaur, but I just think that there could be a case for a Roger. And I mean, like, if you look at it, Pack do quite well in the current statistics. Obviously, star players, yes, I know. 2 big guys and the star player, yeah, different build. But I think they can do fairly well, and I've seen them in a few tournaments already doing all right with 3 big guys in the new rule set. And everybody said Pact are shit now. I don't think they are.
Wow, Simply Sensei's dropping the Troll. Candlejack and the Cod War are both dropping the Mino. So I have to say, I'm with the 5 guys here. I'd drop the Roger, but
Yeah.
chat does not necessarily agree with us, and isn't that wonderful?
Are there BB2 people that would be like, what the hell is Chaos Pact?
Yes, sorry, we should explain. There's been a team for many, many years which it's called Chaos Pact. Look it up. And Blood Bowl 3 will eventually let you play with it in about 8 years after it launches, when
We
they
talked
finish all
about
the
this in the last
DLC.
podcast, the fact that it's very likely that as soon as BB3 comes out, we're going to have a new rule set for Blood Bowl.
Yeah, maybe so. I mean, that is the Games
could I-
Workshop model, isn't it? Is new rule sets every 3 to 5 years, depending on how popular they think the game is.
Could I ask you guys a question, by the way?
Of course, Thor.
So I'm a massive fan of the NAF Corn roster. Some of you may see my Kickstarter I had earlier this year for the silly Corn team.
Yeah, I saw.
Yep.
What do you guys think of the new Corn roster that's been announced?
I think they've tried incredibly hard not to use the word demon for the big guy.
Yeah, well, they'd already made that decision with Nurgle, hadn't they? That's why they changed it from a Beast of Nurgle to a Plague Spawn or whatever. Is it a Plague Rot Spawn? Yeah. Yeah, so they've already moved away from demons being involved at all.
But it is a massive rip-off of the Corn team on Fumble from the Secret League.
I mean, I
Yes.
don't think it is. I don't think it is. Like, yes, it's very similar, but it's naturally what you're going to think of. If you turn the Nurgle team into a Corn team, then it's what you naturally turn up to. Except what I would have done if I was them, I would have kept them Agility 3+, but just made them like passing blank or passing 6+ or something, and give them a massive hit of passing. I think making them Edge 4+ is stupid. But that's what you're naturally going to do, right? You're going to make the Chaos Warriors have frenzy and just add frenzy on them. It's just obvious, isn't it? But then the linemen, you want to make them like armor 8 or armor 7 and give them frenzy, and then the Pestigores turn to Corn Ghosts and give them jugs. Like it's just an obvious kind of thing if you're going to make a Corn team. I would say.
And some big nasty big guy that people are going to love paying money to Forge World for and paint.
Yeah, with claws.
Quite a lot of Corn. And
There we are. Thor's got it already. Brilliant. Or
there you
something
go.
not dissimilar.
Yeah, very similar to mine. I just find Corn a bit. Yeah.
I'm much more interested. I mean, I didn't. I'm the opposite, Thor. I didn't. Nothing about the old Corn or Demons of Corn, as we're perhaps now calling them, roster appealed to me. The new Corn roster, it just looks that tiny bit more reliable. That I kind of think, okay, I can see some ways I could maybe get some things done with it.
The thing I'm worried massively about it is what I loved about the old Corn team was the fact that most of them had Juggernaut, or the players that you're relying on had Juggernaut. So you knew that if you rolled those both downs on the blitz, you could turn them into pushbacks. So if you had block, you could turn somebody's wrestle off and hit them down, and you're causing damage. Losing the Juggernaut from the Bloodseekers, as they are now, the Heralds, and from the big guy, I can't see the big guy keeping all the skills that he had. I'm just worried that they're not going to be as reliable as what they were.
Okay, that's an interesting. That's not a perspective I'd heard, but yeah, maybe so. I mean, one of the beautiful things about right now is we don't know, do we?
No.
I mean,
Early
do we even feel we know what the best team in Blood Bowl 2020 is?
Undead.
Well, there we go. We've had 3 answers, and you're all certain. Underworld, Dorf, and Undead. Anyone else want to put anything out there and say that's going to be top of the pile? Are Woodies still up there?
Lizards.
Is that because of On the Ball really helping Chameleon Skinks actually have some
No, they were
purpose?
super powerful before, and they are still super powerful in a no-star meta.
And of course, Claw
The
MB
no-star
has
meta
been
thing,
has been nerfed, which was one of the things they feared, and leaping into cages to take the ball away of the Skinks. So perhaps Lizards is a good shout.
To the Woody side of conversation, I haven't specifically played Woodies, but I have already felt the power of the passing nerf, as I'll call it, is very significant for the Edge teams. I've felt it on the Slan already. It really, really makes a lot of situations tricky. So I don't think Woodies will be, and obviously the leaping as well. I don't think Woodies will be as strong. They'll obviously still be quite strong, but yeah, I do think Woodies less so now.
I almost think Pro Elves actually are slightly better than Wood Elves now.
Ooh, I'm going to have to ask you to justify that, Thor.
So, Sidestep is a better starting skill than Leap.
Okay.
Purely because you can sidestep into a cage when somebody hits you. Leaping into a cage is now is almost not going to happen. Nerves of Steel is a fantastic skill on your catches. And it's just having seen some games with Wood Elves and BB20 and seen similar games. This is tournament style games. I think the standard tournament package of five skills and a secondary, as it's now called, I think benefits the Pro Elves more now than Wood Elves.
Yeah, I can.
I
Yeah,
guess it depends on
I can see
format.
that.
It depends on format. You're coming at it from the NAF, like K-Fog was like, called me an idiot basically for saying dwarves, but I don't think dwarves in NAF format, you know, that's the thing. But I think in like leagues with redrafting, it's dwarves by a mile, because you can just cut down to like anything. You can cut down to 770 basically, can't you? 785. You can literally cut to 785 of players and rerolls, and that's it. You just cut right to the bone on redraft. It's insane. So they are absolutely 100% the best with redraft, in my opinion, which is correct. But then there's other things like, then there's other things like mages and stuff where you'll want to like play like a season or two and then redraft. You know, when that comes into Fumble, like when they have the mages things, then it'll be whatever does the best over like a season or two and then redrafting or whatever, and then like NAF, it depends on the format and tiering and that. So it all just depends, doesn't it? Really.
Yeah, it's I mean, I agree. I've said since the first time I read the leaks of this rule set that almost everything I think about this is going to depend on the format it's in, on whether there's redrafting, on whether it's resurrection, on all of those sorts of things are going to change what I think is good, what I think is bad, and what's going to be at the top of that circle of power. But are we all thinking that Woodies are knocked off number one now? Is that generally what we kind of think? Whatever it's going to end up being, it's probably not Woodies. They'll be up there somewhere, but they're probably not going to be number one.
I mean,
I
it's still
missed
good.
most of that conversation. Actually, I was playing one of the kids today.
It's fine.
But just in terms of Woodies, I've noticed a massive difference, right? So I've been playing quite a lot of Blood Bowl 2020 on Fumble, and then recently I've played a few Blood Bowl 2 games, and the difference of ease that Wood Elves have in the old rule set is notable. It's definitely notable. They are a much weaker team.
And is that because of the lack of vanity? Well, I mean, some people call it vanity passing, but even just the ability to pick up on anything and pass to anything.
It's everything on a 2+, isn't it? And it's not everything on a 2+ anymore.
Right.
As I'm sure, K-Fool will tell you, I mean, it's just easy to coach Wood Elves, right? Just easy.
Losing
2
sprint
plus
is
2
pretty
plus
bad
2
as well.
plus
I
2
think
plus-
that's pretty massive, losing the sprint.
Yeah. It was just a note, because having played quite a few Wood Elf teams on Fumble and doing reasonably well. I'm only joking, Kay. I'm not being serious. But then going to Blood Bowl 2 and playing a Wood Elf team and them just doing everything on just whatever they wanted, basically, to a certain extent. It was just noticeable difference. Yeah.
Larician just agreeing there with Pro Elves being, if they're tier 2 against Wood Elves in tier 1, then he again thinks that Pro Elves can really make that sidestep work to their advantage in a way that League just isn't doing anymore. I do feel the need to wrap this up. I don't want them to go on too long. And frankly, you guys, I mean, thanks for coming. I could talk to you all night. I'm going to put a final question out there because I do want to end on Blood Bowl 2020. And I'll start to give you some thinking time, and then just we'll come in one at a time. Favorite thing, ideally a surprising thing about the Blood Bowl 2020 rule set, and then the thing that you still think isn't good, or perhaps in a year and a half when they do another rule set should be changed. My favourite thing that I thought would be quite good, but is so much better than I thought it would be, and I'm going to steal this from everybody else, so I'm going to say it first, is Sneaky Git. I almost can't think of a team that has Sneaky Git access on a normal that I wouldn't take it on now, or find a place to put it on.
It's phenomenal.
It's breaking my heart that Dwarves do not have access to it on a normal. Because I think it's outstanding as a skill. It's become a tier 1 skill to me, and almost an auto take if I'm building a NAF team that has access to it, I think. The thing I still think is terrible, and I think shouldn't be in Blood Bowl, I guess if I had to really pick just one thing, because I do think there are still a few weaknesses in this rule set I'm either not comfortable with, or I think need working out. I don't understand the nerf to break tackle. I don't get it. I don't know why we had to get rid of break tackle. I don't mind the new break tackle as a skill. Crap 2 heads, but I don't know why we've lost break tackle.
It's because the old break tackle didn't work with the agility 2+, agility 3+, converting strength straight into a.
I see. That makes some sense.
The table just doesn't work, because if you become strength 5 to agility 5+, going well.
I see. Okay. Well, that's the first answer anyone's given me that makes any sense, Thor. So thank you very much. So that's my 2. Who can come in with their 2? Who's next?
I could.
Okay, Volk.
Favorite thing, random skills, because I think it's underestimated how much it does change the meta. Like I've been playing some C and Fumble, good old Fumble, messed around a bit, and it changes team build so much. Like people tend to take it only on linos, but that quite a bit, and it makes teams a lot better because it's just like the TV difference. If you I just had a Camry team and got a pro wrestle strip ball Skellington. Pretty good for 70k. Like not a bad player for 70k, and like that's so good to have that option. And I don't think we have seen the full potential yet, because people don't tend to take it in positionals. And I'm wondering if there are hidden positionals where it could be really good on and really powerful, especially in what Jim is saying, a redraft format. And dwarves tend to not rando skill, right? So maybe that's a slight nerf to them, that they don't have the opportunity. I just think the random skills are super interesting, and obviously the star issue is what we need to figure out.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Who wants to come in?
I will go next.
Mark.
What I've been pleasantly surprised with playing a necromantic team in the tabletop stuff. Wraiths. And everybody was like, white, they can't get over Wraiths. Wraiths, sidestep, block, regeneration, give them guard. They are a pain in the arse.
Foul appearance.
Yeah, and foul appearance, of course, yeah. They are, honestly, with your flesh golems and stand firm, they are dangerous on that front line. Because of sidestep and stand firm, unless you do something pretty amazing, that's a solid line of defense.
I mean, 2 stand firm, 2 sidestep, and 2 frenzy. That's a control team, isn't it? Right there.
Yeah.
That's
I love the new.
This field is mine now.
Yeah. And the other thing I was a bit surprised about, and I wasn't sure worked, was the new injury dice, the D16. I mean,
a lot more deaths.
Yeah, a lot more deaths. Yeah, a lot more deaths. Just a lot more deaths.
Okay.
That's it. That's it.
3 guys left. Who? Rick, let's bring you in.
Yeah, so I like the buffs and added variation to a lot of the previous lesser teams. I'm really enjoying playing some of the stunties. I like the changes to Khemri and Underworld, other than Hackflem in tournaments. I think I struggle to play them on Blood Bowl 2 now comparatively, because it's frustrating that they're not the newer versions. And I think for the most part, a rebalance has been done really, really well. So that's great. I'm really enjoying that. I hate almost everything about the changes to passing. There's so much to go into on that. I can see what they were going for. I think they've done it completely wrong. If they want to completely redo it and go for what they were going for and actually achieve that, I'd be all for it. But I think it's just awful. I'm really disappointed with passing in Blood Bowl 2020.
That's a good shout. 2 left. Who's coming in? Jimmy, Thor?
You, Rick, for stealing mine.
You can just go with all the passing skills, Jimmy. We can definitely have that one twice. So, Jimmy, let's bring you in.
No, I actually like the star players, because as I said about the whole the whole snowball effect in leagues, and I think that's good that the people who get left behind have got something to bring them in, and I guess the redrafting is kind of a continuation of that as well, kind of that thing of trying to keep people rubber banded a little bit. So I guess the bad thing for me is the thing that I never experienced, which was losing the D3 MVP, because I thought that was like the best thing about 2016. Was the D3 MVP.
I know a lot of leagues who've just gone, we're going to stay with D3.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, people can just out through this.
It was really great for tabletop, but from like a Blood Bowl 2 CCL, and I think even like Fumble Black Box, whatever we end up with in future on those fronts perspective, I think it's a good change. I'm really sorry, because it's not just for you. It's so nice for yourself to get to pick those, but for your opponents, all of your opponents to constantly be picking those in a very long-term format where you can play a lot of games, I think that starts to get a bit silly on the team building. And I actually really, really like that they've dropped from going back to CRP, the dead players and the mercenaries and the star players picking it up. So it's only players that can play your next game. I think that's the perfect change for me. For all formats of the game, it's the perfect change. For short league formats, which I play on tabletop, D3 was amazing.
If we've got to have it random, as Rick says, at least getting it off the people you're not going to have hired is great. And I'm with Jimmy. I miss it, but it is a balance issue. And as Sick as Eggs has said in the chat, perhaps if we brought back the D3 MVP, that might throw the balance of everything else. Because there's some teams that build. I mean, if Lizards can avoid everything on Skinks, that's brilliant. If I can build...
Say that, but there's no balance in Blood Bowl anyway, and it's deliberately unbalanced. So everyone's saying about balance. When people say, but complain about Blood Bowl 3 not having redraft and saying, oh, the whole game is balanced around redraft. No, it isn't. It's not balanced at all.
Well, I would still say that without redraft, we're going to get some really silly, huge teams in Blood Bowl 3. But we'll see. We may not. And what I was talking about Blood Bowl 3 not having Chaos Pact, I know they're announced as a release team. We just now don't have a release announced for Blood Bowl 3. We've no idea when it's coming. So it may be in February next year. It may be they need to put it off further. We may wait another year and not see it. And I hope that if it means it's done right when it comes, I think that's great. I want good Blood Bowl, and I want more people coming to Blood Bowl, and a good Blood Bowl 3 will help with that. So despite the fact that I'm a fumble main, a good Blood Bowl 3 is good for all of us.
It is.
Thor.
So, my favourite bits are twofold, really. I really like the changes to the kickoff table.
Okay.
The fact that perfect defense isn't just screw you anymore. Blitz isn't just screw you anymore. Throw rock isn't you're probably going to kill a player because it always killed a player. And anybody who's ever had a throw rock hit them kills the player. And I really like that. Also, like the change to changing weather. So now scatters. So it used to be just you roll an extra d8. Now scatters. That's 3d8 before the bounce. So it could really deviate from where it is just because the weather's stayed nice. And just little changes like that. And the other one is we found this out at Thrudball as one of the refs there. Argue the call doesn't remove the player from the pitch. You successfully argue the call.
He stays right there.
Turnover, but the player stays on the pitch.
Yeah.
I like that because it was like, well, yeah, okay, he's been sent off, but he's off for the rest of this drive. So it doesn't help me. Whereas him staying on the pitch could be absolutely massive.
Was that different from 2016 then?
Yeah, he went to the reserve spot.
But you could argue the call in the last rule set, but if he was successful, he went into the reserves.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Whereas now he stays on the pitch.
Stays on the pitch, yeah, it's massive.
Yeah. And the things that I'm not massively keen on, I don't know. I mean, one of the comments I said on the Squad Chaos podcast is all the changes, if these would have been the way Blood Bowl was from the get-go, nobody would have an issue with them.
Yeah.
And I still stand by that. It's yes, they're different. Yes, this is a different version of Blood Bowl than what we were used to. But it's not unplayable. It's still fun. It's still the heart of the game that we loved. And yeah, there's nothing I'm not playing Blood Bowl because of this. Just crack on and play the game.
What really interests me, as of those 6 answers about the positives and the negatives, nobody's mentioned multiple rerolls in a single turn as either yet.
I think it's good.
So we've all just kind of said, that's kind of fine. It's not the thing I hate. It's not the thing I love. But it's a change, and we've just changed with it, have we?
I like it.
I like it.
It's certainly good for me, which is all that matters.
I mean, it mitigates against that one awful turn at the start of the game. Say you're playing against Wood Elves or Skaven, and you go over to pick the ball up, and you fail the pickup. But you've already used a reroll because you double skulled on the first block or something. And the gut runner doesn't just run around open score.
Yeah, but it's
It just
important to know.
mitigates that because you just go, actually. Sorry.
No, go on, Thor. Carry on.
It just mitigates against that one turn which could absolutely ruin the start of the game or put you straight on the downer. And yes, the good players, some of you guys included, will be able to use this later on in the game if they haven't used those rerolls earlier on.
Yeah.
I prefer to have a chance against those players by not having that bad turn in the first few and having a chance in the game.
Okay, I really feel I've pushed you all too long and too hard, so I'm going to have to say now, any other business before we wrap up?
Yeah, I just want to quickly add on. It's important to note with the multiple re-rolls that it's not like if you don't pick the ball up, you can keep re-rolling it until you pick it up.
Yeah, each action is still one re-roll.
Yeah, absolutely. That was it.
Anything else from anyone? Feel free.
One thing to chat, we're keeping notes of comments people are bringing up. Like people wanted to talk about passing or nobility, how valuable they are, like how good they are in the new rule set, etc. We are keeping notes, and those issues will covered by some of the same people, some different people over the following episodes. So nothing you are contributing to this is lost, because chat interaction is very, 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 very welcome on this.
We're trying to keep up with it. This is very much a work in progress. So a couple of announcements there. The first is, Vilinich, I did see what you said. There is definitely space, but this is the second time I've done this. First time I've done this way, and this was from an Andy Davo suggestion. I think it works much better. There is clearly space on this screen for me to put some banners up with things like the names of the six of us, which would be handy to people in the chat. So that's definitely an innovation that you've suggested that I will try and do for next time. I will be opening in my Discord a public channel about One World, One Blood Bowl. There's already a private one where we sort of chat and arrange these things. There will be a public one where people can suggest ideas, can ask questions, can even suggest people they think I should be asking on, because I want to bring in as diverse a range of voices as possible, and give as much feedback as you want in there. So that's definitely something we're going to be trying to get you more involved in, what you want from this. It's very much an evolution. I don't have an idea in my head as to what I want it to be, except I want to chat with people I like about Blood Bowl, because I like doing that. And I think there's a place for this. And as I've said, to try and bring the disparate little pockets of Blood Bowl just a bit, at least understanding the other bits of Blood Bowl, if not feeling that we are one Blood Bowl, one world, one Blood Bowl, because it's one game, whether you're painting it or playing it or talking about it or posting terrible ideas on Reddit. You're all part of Blood Bowl, and you're all as welcome. And I want that to be what this is about. We just talk about anything anyone wants to. And obviously there's things like the 2020 rules, and I would love to do an episode where we focus on Black Orcs and Imperial Nobility, because they're brand new. And perhaps that's what we'll make the next one about. The next one will be 2 weeks from now, on the 24th. I'm just going to have to, because I don't 100% remember off the top of my head, so we're probably all going to freeze as I look at this, which is who I have lined up for the next one already. So bear with me just for 2 seconds while I do that for you. You may just have to stick with my voice. Oh, perfect. An alert fires at the same time. Let me kill that auto-repeat. Thank you, Volk. Yeah, please do. And then I can stop us being frozen.
I know I definitely won't be here, I'm afraid. Yeah. I'll be away on holiday.
It's going to be the lovely PurpleChest as our host. Bazakistine, by far the best North American Blood Bowl coach, because it's certainly not Fly. We got Sun0638. We got
also known as Mike Davis. You may know him by that name. A fantastic Blood Bowl theorist.
We got the Blitzpit organizer, and also pretty decent and second most exciting Australian Blood Bowl coach after Sky Blue Monty, Danik. We got K-Folk, and we got returning guest Andy Davo.
So a few faces you've seen before, some other ones that may be new to you, but may not be. I'm going to try and keep doing these every 2 to 3 weeks, depending on my life schedule. And if I suddenly have to disappear for a few months, if I ever get an acting job or anything, then there's absolutely this could be handed over to someone else to do, and then whatever. I think this is a nice thing to do, and if it catches and if people like it, I want to keep doing them. I think it's very different to the Fumble podcast, to the Squad Chaos podcast. And I think I've enjoyed it, and I'm going to keep doing it whilst people turn up, because I like talking about Blood Bowl with people. Everyone we've had on will be invited back again. If you've enjoyed it, please feel free to come. In our private Discord about this, feel free to drop any link you want me to put when I took the episode out. I will link the Squad Chaos server for certain. I'll link everyone's Twitches. I'll link your YouTube, Jimmy and Rick, and those that have them. And please, feel free to drop into my Discord. Below this stream, there's the links to my Discord and also to the YouTube where episode 1 is, and to the Spotify and Anchor has episode 1 of this as just a podcast. This will be going out as podcast, as YouTube. And then we'll be doing another one in 2 weeks' time.
Just as an extra PC, I'm just thinking ahead. If Thor is going to be doing a charity stream on December the 11th, maybe it's worth putting a link somewhere for his Twitch.
Yeah.
So we can all come and watch it.
Oh, 100%. Anything you've got to link, guys, I would love to put out when I put this episode out as a link. So do drop those, what you want me to put in the episode description. And I'll put those out on Spotify. I'll put those out on YouTube. I won't be able to put it on the VOD. So if you want to drop them in the chat now, feel free. And if you're not in the chat, tough. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I want to thank Jimmy, Thor, Mark, Volkajo, and Rick. I'm so thrilled people are giving up their time for this. I hope you've enjoyed being here as much as I've enjoyed having you here. I hope, and I will get those alerts sorted so I don't have to keep swapping to a different screen and we all disappear for a few seconds. I hope people are enjoying this. I'm enjoying doing them. And yeah, let's hope they can continue for at least a while. And let's just talk about Blood Bowl, because that's often even easier than playing it.
Thanks for having us.
You're more than welcome, Thor.
What a great idea, PC. I don't think anyone's integrated themselves into Tabletop Fumble and Blood Bowl 2 as well as you have in the communities. K-Fool in chat, a rare contender, but this podcast puts you over the top, and it's brilliant. Thank you, mate.
Well, if I have anything to offer, it is perhaps that I'm a gobby bugger that people seem to recognise. So I'm trying to abuse that to just bring in people from all over, and I seem to be in a position where that kind of is working, except Reddit, who hate me.
It's silkiest voice in Blood Bowl you've got, mate. Silkiest voice in Blood Bowl.
No, I think that may now go to Misspelled Tree, who's on my list of people to invite in the future. Her voice is stunning. Look, thank you all for coming. Thank you to chat for being here. I'm sorry we're not interacting more. Again, that's something I've got to think about, how we get more of what you're chatting about and what you're asking up here into what we're doing. That was always part of the concept too, and we are trying to do it, but I'm feeling guilty we're not doing it enough. This will improve. We will get better. Stick with me, and I hope to see you back in 2 weeks' time. Thank you to everybody for coming. I am now going to close the stream down because basically I can't start streaming because my webcam either has to be here or on the OBS. So I'm going to close the stream down for a few minutes, have a cigarette, and then I'm going to come back and play a game of CCL. So I'll see if I can raid you somewhere. But if you want to watch some Blood Bowl, I'll be doing that in a few minutes. Thank you, everybody, for coming, and that's us done. Thank you very much, everybody. Night-night.
Be fantastic.
Yeah.
That was awesome. Thank you.